Alright, this is going to be a tutorial on drawing what's called a Cape Cod style house. And this is just the beginning part, so there's two parts. There's a little extra, like a living room or a family room or something off the side. We'll look at that. This is the end view. Notice how the roof has the extension on it with the depth there for the eaves and everything. You can see it again there. And then we're going to put in all the different features of the house, but that's the basic idea of the house there. It's probably a little bit too long, out of proportion. I was trying to make sure I had enough room to put in different things, but that we will look at as we go through. So let's go to SketchUp. Now this is SketchUp 8. It looks a little bit different than yours. I think the tools and everything look a little bit different, but it's still the same basic idea. The hand here, if we use that tool, I can move the whole screen around. So I'm going to move this over. Then using the mouse, I'm going to scroll out a bit, just so you've got a bit more of a view. We're going to start by drawing the base, and I'm going to make it fairly large so that I've got lots to work with. It's easier for you to see then as well. And then we will pull this up, and again using the young lady there as a gauge for the size. That's a little bit bigger than it should be, but that's all right. For the roof, I find the midpoint, which is that blue round dot there called midpoint, and then I can go straight up. If it's dark blue, it's straight up. So I'm going to go from there to the corner, which is green. From there, green, to there, green. I'll erase the middle. I'm going to use the orbit tool. You can also use the hold down the middle mouse button and rotate around. But if you use that tool, it works with the left button with a little bit more accuracy and less glitching. Okay, so now we will pull this out, and I'm going to overlap the roof and the sides on, so to give the eaves, I guess, overhanging of the eaves. So I want to have a fair size overhang here to build a porch with. And so that's what we're doing there. And we have to do this part by eye, okay, of how, whoops, Control Z undoes stuff. But we have to look from the bottom, so I'll scroll up. Does that look fairly even? Not too bad, but again, I'm just doing that by eye. There's no way to really measure those things. So we can do this a couple of ways. We can push part in or pull part out. So this one I'm going to pull this out, and maybe even a little bit more on the other end. Okay. Again, have a look. Maybe a little bit more on this end. Okay, so that is the basic part of the main part of the house. There are other parts that we're going to be using and drawing. Okay, so I will stop there for part one. Okay, part two of this tutorial. Let's build a deck by using the rectangle tool. So we'll just go from there. All right, and we'll pull it out. Actually, let's rotate around, and then we want to try and make it the same width as the eave at the top. Now you have to do it by eye, so it's not looks pretty good. Same thing on this side. Draw a rectangle and try and get it roughly the same size. Looks pretty good. Again, rotate out and try to make it the same size, same width as the eave by eye. All right, doesn't look too bad. All right, now the next part is we want to do not the whole roof coming out, but we want to make well, I think it's just called the eave. So here we're going to do this with the pencil tool. We're going to go from the top the end point at the top and go straight down, and you just have to judge whatever. I'm going to go like that far. Okay, and then you've got to come here and you've got to try to make it parallel. So the two lines there coming that angle, try to make them parallel. And again, you have to do it just by eye. All right, something like that. Then you have two choices. You can pull parts out or push parts in. So I am going to pull this part. I'm going to pull this part out a bit, like that. Okay. If we wanted to push this other part in, if that doesn't look right, then we would have to, the other end will be fine, but this one is not. So I'd have to go from here to there. And then on this side, do the same thing. Go from here to there. Notice it's the red color, which gives you that perspective. All right, so if we go back and we can push that back in, and I think that would look a little bit better. Oh, not quite all the way. There you go, offset. Okay, now the other end will, because of the way this draws, the other end has the lines already in place there, so those two lines are there. So let's do what we just did there. Again, doing it by eye. So straight down blue, about that width. Try to make it parallel. Click, left click here, and then left click there. I will remove this one and rotate it, pull it out. I'll check for both ends being somewhat similar in. So that one looks like that. Whoa, that one's way longer. All right, I think that one's maybe too much. So we'll fix that just by pushing this back in. All right, so we'll make that one that size, and then maybe make this one a bit deeper. Okay, and now we have to readjust this thing. All right, so once again we have to, all right, pretty close. All right. All right, there are a lot of different things we can go to now, but I think the next one is just a little bit nitpicky, and that's we have to draw posts on here. Now, in order to do it well, what we need to do is we need to zoom in. So I'm going to move that there. I'm going to try and get in as close as I can. All right, and then the bigger this becomes, all right, I'm going to draw a square. So just kind of take note. All right, roughly there, it's inside a little bit, and then we just pull it up until it gets to the roof. So we will go, and you don't want it to go through the roof. Okay, and then you're going to do 3 or 4 of those. So that's, if we scroll out, all right, so that one is very close to the end. So now we will come and we'll do one here at this end, and try to keep it somewhat similar in shape and size and place. So it says square there, so I will take its word for it. And then again, we'll pull this one up into there. Okay, now I'm going to use this to zoom out. Now we're going to put 2 more around, so like 1 at each end, and then 2, and then the middle point is where the door will go. So once again, let's see if we can figure this one out. If we can find the midpoint, that's the midpoint right there. So for right now, I'm just going to draw. We can remove that afterwards. That's the midpoint. So we'll use that feature to try and put some posts like maybe there and there as well as we can by eye. So I'm going to try and do something like that. Pull it up. And I'm going to zoom out again. And we will try and do the other one about here. So again, it's by eye. Interesting. I don't know what that means, golden section. Anyway, we're going to try that. Whoops, don't want to go through the roof. Okay, so let's just go have a look. See? Okay, so you can see that this one here is way too wide, fat, whatever. This is going to be a trick to get at this one. Oh, I did it. So we could maybe make these all a bit more like that size. Come around to this side and have a look. A little bit hard to get at, but if you're... Nope. And again, I just did that by eye, and it's not perfect. It's maybe a little bit out, but pretty close. So I think, yeah, we'll leave it like that. Okay, now we may later on add some professionally made doors that we can import, but for right now we're going to put some windows and doors in, and that'll be the next part. Okay, and try to work a little bit harder than I did maybe at making these similar size and position them, really carefully. Okay, good stuff. All right, so the third part. Uh, uh, you're going to be overjoyed to be reminded of this or to be told this. But remember, you have decks on both sides, so you have to repeat the procedure of the posts on this side as well. You could also, if you really wanted, you could also try those with the circle tool. You could make round posts there. Works about the same way, but you can try that. Still, that one post is not quite right. We will not worry about that right now. Okay, so this is probably off a bit too. That is definitely bigger than this one here, and you can erase it, redo it. It's a little bit, you can't really move them when they stick through other parts. Anyway, we'll leave that for right now. A door. Different things we can do for a door, but we're going to start with the simple one. We're going to make a nice double door here. Okay, and I'm going to put it about like that. Okay, and then we will draw, if we can find the midpoint, which is right there, divide it in half, and then we will also put some sections in it where we can put glass. So I'm going to try again, do this by eye. So I'll do that one there and try and make this the same size. Okay, and then just let's make it look a little bit nicer with that. So I'm going to go Window, Materials, and I'm going to go in here to Translucent, and we're going to make so you can actually see through that as you start getting stuff inside the house. Okay, so here's where you have to zoom in so that you have more, well, a different scale to work with. So let's see if we can put in a door handle on each side here. So we'll go about like that. These can be moved if you click on it, make it blue, This is the move tool, the one with the 4 arrows like that. And you can usually move it a bit at a time. I'm going to just do Control C, Control V, and I'm going to get another one. Try to position it right there. All right, and we can put a color on that later on. Okay, and for windows, we're going to do the same idea. Anyway, let's do the windows. So I'm going to put a nice big window on this side. So we are going to push this in. All right, so that becomes the window. And again, we can make this translucent. So do that. All right, so the trick here is to do it in sections. So I'm going to go up so you can see that inside line up there. I'll find there's the midpoint. It turns, okay, now make sure it's dark blue. Go down about halfway. Go to the side, do the same thing. All right, come across, and now we rotate, orbit around, do the same thing here. Midpoint, draw a line straight across. Now we have to do it from the bottom up to make it a straight line from the bottom. So if we find the midpoint there, we can come up. All right, now if you want to do it again, you can now go from here to here. You can now find the midpoint from there to there. Rotate up and midpoint down, midpoint down. And you could divide it as many times as you want. You can do the same thing here. You can put in panes on this as well. And it looks a little bit nicer. Okay, and then you can start to see how you can see inside the house when you put the translucent stuff on like that. Okay. Okay, next part of the tutorial then is we're going to add in a little bit of a step here. That's not super difficult or earth-shattering, but let's do it. So we are going to zoom in, pull this up. We zoom in so that this becomes bigger and the scale becomes easier to work with. So we will go like this, and I'm just going to guess about like that post is definitely in the wrong spot. Okay, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to pull this one out. All right, and then we will do the same thing right here. Didn't get that quite right. Let me do that one again. All right, then just pull this one out just a little bit, and you get something like that. And then you can adjust whatever you want to have for the desired step type thing. So that's just kind of a neat little extra thing there. It's not too bad, not too hard to do. All right, and then we would put more windows in. I'm going to leave that for right now because I'll tell you where to put the windows. How about a chimney? That becomes a bit more of a challenge. So let's see what we can do here. We can do it a couple of different ways. We could do it just from the roof, or one from the ground up. The one from the ground up is a little bit more challenging, but let's see. If it doesn't work, and we can try it again or do something different. So we're going to take this one, and actually first what I'm going to do is find the midpoint down here, which is there. All right, so I'm just going to put a little line there for right now just to tell me that that is the midpoint. All right, and then I'm going to do my best to draw something like that. And I'm going to try and pull it up right the way through the roof, which I can do. All right. So that will become our chimney. And we can put brick and that sort of thing on there. But let's put, again, just to give me more scale, I'm going to try and zoom in on just that area there. And I'm going to draw just a couple of smokestacks here. So there's one. I'm going to select it. Come on. That's right, you got to use the move tool. Alright, and then I'm going to do Control C, whoops, come on, let's highlight it. It's got to be highlighted. Alright, CV. Then I have a copy and just try to. Okay, and then just pull those up a bit, however high. Go from the end. They should probably be the same height, I would think. Okay, now just to make sure that it looks like a chimney, zoom out here a bit. And I guess we have a couple of choices here. Do we want this just, you can design this as you go. All right, let's try it like that. Gives it a bit bigger. All right, I'm going to try it like that. Okay, so we're going to now go to Window, Materials, and this time we're going to choose Bricks. And I'm going to choose dark brown. And that will be our chimney. And to get rid of this, I think that line in the middle there should go. All right, so there is a chimney. You can choose what we want. All right, for the next part, we are going to draw the gables, and this is probably one of the more challenging parts of this drawing session on the house here of the Cape Cod house. We're going to draw three. We're going to draw one here, and one here. So we've got to try and keep them somewhat separated out. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, again, go and find, there's our middle section. I'm just going to draw a little line there. So this gable should, cover in this area here. All right, and what we're going to do right again. So I'm going to try from about there. Yeah, maybe about the width of the door. That's maybe a way to do the door. All right, now watch. If I go up and it's dark blue, then I'm going straight up. So I'm going to show you on the side. Okay, if I go up and it's black, like that, okay, you can see obviously it was up, but then it's lying flat on the roof. So make sure that it is that dark blue color. Okay, now notice how that the dotted red line comes in there to tell you that, okay, you can then draw from there to there to make a proper square, rectangle. Find the midpoint, go up a little bit from corner to corner. I'm going to erase the middle lines. Okay, and here's where we have to check and see if we've got a reasonable size. And I'll show you what to do if you don't. All right, so if we pull it back, and see how it's going right in the middle of the roof. That's not good. You want it a little bit lower than the top of the roof there. So I'm going to go. Now we can resize things. So I'm going to come around to the front and use the arrow tool, which selects it. Hold down the Shift key and select 1, 2, 3, 4. All those lines turn blue. Now also select the middle. Okay, hit the letter S and you get the sizing tool, and I'm going to resize it down. And then I'm going to come to the front and make sure that it's still, see, it's moved a little bit now. The sizing, I need to have it in the middle. Okay, try it there. Rotate around and now pull it back again. and this time it should not. There, that looks a little bit better. Okay, we want to draw 3 of those. But that is not a complete gable. I'm going to do more of what we did before. So I'm going to come in a little bit more on it. And again, we're going to draw things like this. 1, down, try to make it parallel, left click. Notice how the red line comes in there to show you that you're at the same point. Then we'll remove that middle line. All right, and come around, pull this out. All right, and I think we'd like a window in the middle there. So let's go from the front, so we hopefully will get a good view, and try to make looks pretty even, and we will push it in a bit. Okay, that's maybe a bit too far. All right, and then we will again go to translucent, give ourselves that, and we would add in some panes and things like that. All right, and then, all right, so you need to build 3 of these for the front. They don't go front to back, although I suppose they could, but they don't. So they just go on the one side, the front side of the house, but you need to build 3 of those. All right, and then you need the second one here and the third one here, fairly evenly spaced out. Okay, and we will call it quits for right there.